Hello everyone, I'll be going over two things today. Firstly, I will quickly show you the variable view and everything you can do with it. And then I will show you how to transform variables in SPSS. First, a side note, starting here we have an ID variable. This is a unique ID per person, and in most cases there will be one row per person, so each ID will be unique. If you put this into your statistical tests, this will give all kinds of lovely errors or weird results. So ID is only used in statistical tests if there are multiple rows per person. So firstly, what's in the variable view? Well, name speaks for itself. Decimals can look nice, but it doesn't do much. I now have ID with 2 decimals, while it's just a number, so I can click here and just use the arrow downwards to make it go to 0. Label is nice to fill in if it's not clear what something is from the name. So shop can mean anything, so I added that is which shop do they prefer. Value labels are very important for nominal values like sex. So now it's wrong, it's 0 is male, but we only have the values 1 and 2. So we can click here and it opens. We can 2 is female, so we click in 2 and female and click add. And to change this to 1, you can click here, change the value and click change. Always click change if you want to change something, otherwise it won't save. Missing is not something you'll be using regularly for now. Sometimes instead of an empty space, the missing value will have a value, like for example 99 when the scale is 1 to 7. And if such a thing is the case, you can just fill it in here and click OK. And now every 99 SPSS will interpret as a missing value. But we have none here. Finally, the most important part, measure. This is often done automatically, so it will often be wrong. ID is technically nominal. It doesn't really matter what you make of it because it's not going to be used. But for the other ones, make sure to check if it's correct. So sex should be nominal and so should shop be, but I'll show you why it's so important to do this with a small example. Then we go to how to transform dummy variables. You just click on transform and there's a really nice one called create dummy variables. And all you have to do to create dummy variables is select which shop do they prefer, go here and enter a root name for the variable. So shop pref here. Then I click on OK. And then you see I have created 1 instead of 4 dummy variables. And if I go to data view, I can tell they're exactly the same as shop, actually. They're just nominal. And why did this happen? That's because I was lazy and didn't check the measurement levels. And create dummy variables automatically has a default function. Do not create dummies for scale variable values. So that's one of the reasons why it's important. Of course, this can be prevented easily just by clicking this. However, for some techniques, certain variables can only go into certain spots and it will give errors if you have the wrong measurement levels or you just cannot fill it in, the right variable. So now I've changed this to a nominal variable, and if I click OK, I'll have 4 nice variables. One thing to note here is that here you have 4 variables. For regression, one has to be taken as baseline, which means it's not included. So, for example, you'd be using 2 to 4, so Jimbo, Marlies, and Juju supermarkets, and Pasta World would be the reference group. So much for dummy variables. There are more ways of transforming variables here. Let's say, for example, that Marlies and Juju supermarkets are only have the same owner, so you actually want to take them together. In that case, you can create a new variable for it, so you don't lose your data, and recode into different variables. And you'd have to make the dummy variables again, but that's not the point. This is shop owner is the name. Click on change, and now you're going to create a new variable called shop owner. And to create it, well, I'll just start with you want 4 to be 3. So 4 is Juju supermarkets, and you want this value to be 3 Marlies. And the other ones all have to remain the same. Marlies is already 3, and Pasta World and Jimbo have different owners. So then you click all other values and copy old values. Also add this. And now if I click continue and OK, and we'll have a list with 1, 2, and 3 instead of 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you here see that shop were 4, so Juju supermarkets is now 3. There's one more thing that you can do with this, and that's use if. And let's say I only actually want to look at the ladies, and I don't want to go through all the trouble of selecting all the ladies. So in that case, I can say this remains the same, but I can click if and include if case satisfies condition. And we want a lady, so we go to sex, and then we click is, and ladies was 2. So then we click continue and OK. And why doesn't and it didn't. Oh, and I didn't change a very normal name, probably. Yeah. So this only works if I change this. Shop owner to change, and I click OK. And now we have a shop owner 2, and it's still filled in, but only for women, and no longer for men. The similar one is recode into same variable, and this is only used if you want to keep all the data but you want to change the numbers. For example, we have sex here, which is 1 and 2, but actually I want it to be 0 and 1. So I'd say recode into different variables. I select sex, select old and new values. 1 is male and it wants to be 0, add, and 2 is female and I want to be 1, add, continue, OK. Now you have 0 and 1 as values. And do note that the labels don't automatically change, so you'll have to change by hand if you do this. click change. It should be 1, not 21. And OK. And now the labels are fixed too. There's one more way, and one you'll be using today to create interactions, and that's compute variable. And compute variable gives you lots of options. What you're going to be doing today is fairly simple. You have sex, for example. You have sex, sex and pasta world, for example. So sex pasta, and that sounds weird. And then you can click sex and multiply it by pasta and click OK. And now we have a variable called sex pasta, and it's only 1 if both sex and pasta are 1. So that's the interaction effects, and it's clearer if you have multiple scale variables, which we don't have in this one. So just multiplying different groups. Something I want to show you right now, even though you're not going to be using it today, is that aside from just multiplying things, you also have loads and loads of transformations you can do, and these can be found here. So for example, here I have under arithmetic is what you'll be using most of the time. And so for example, you have absolute values if you need the absolute values, or log 10 and the natural logarithm. It's all explained here what actually it is. Where you can just check which one you, so you can just double click here and can fill in, it's going to be a logarithm of h, and it's going to be called log h. And I click OK. And now I have the natural log of h I have here. So this kind of transformations, just look to the list. Especially arithmetic is something that will contain loads of what you're going to do. And here you will find many transformations that you might want to use at some point. So this is how you transform data in SPSS. I hope will be useful to you, and a lot of luck with your exercises.